Welcome to Electric Eye Media. I'm your host, Loki Saints. Let's go. This is LC500 versus Mark V Supra Part 2. So the big question on everyone's mind is, what are the differences between the Mark V Supra and the LC500? We're going to get into that right now. I'm also going to get into all the details and answer all your guys' questions about what I liked and what I didn't like about the LC500 and what I liked and what I didn't like about the Mark V Supra. And we'll start off with the LC500. The LC500 was a great car. I owned it for almost 3 years. Put about 30,000 miles on it and daily drove the car. Took it to the drag races a couple times, got a best of 13.1 at like 113 miles per hour with full bolt-ons. That's some drop-in filters with performance headers, mid-pipe, and an exhaust. Took it into the canyons, got groceries, did some errands, took it out of state a couple times. I had a great time with that car. I put a lot of money, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into building that car to the level that I did. And the car still left me feeling empty, unfortunately. Great sounding V8, probably one of the best sounding V8s that I've heard in a long time, a very long time. And I've been around a lot of cars my entire life. The interior, fantastic. Very well built, solid. Toyota did a fantastic job with this car. It was a concept car, as many of you know. My only dilemma with that car is the performance, and a lot of people who have been reviewing this vehicle and giving their opinions on it, whether they test drove it for a day or an hour, or they had the car for a week, or their owners like myself who had to live with the car for a couple years, have all come to the same conclusion. Great car, it's great handling, super reliable, never had any issues with the car, even at 30,000 miles, just basic stuff, basic maintenance. Oil changes really weren't that expensive for a car of that caliber. I paid $106,000 MSRP, put about $45,000 of modifications into that car. But again, it all comes back to performance. The car had all the looks, it had the reliability, it had, you know, the aesthetics, I mean, which goes into looks as well, but it had everything going for it other than the performance. That was the part that was lacking. And the car was very heavy, 4,465 pounds with a 185-pound driver, me. And so it just felt sluggish, even with the performance parts on there. And I don't really want to bag on it too much because the car was never tuned. There's still no tuning capabilities for the ECU. It is an OTA, over-the-air ECU, and there's still no tunes available for that platform. No one's been able to hack the encryption that Toyota locked in on that vehicle, and I don't think people are really trying to. I don't think shops are dedicating too much time into that platform because there's really nowhere to go with it, and there's not a lot of demand for it. But anyways, overall, I had a great time in that vehicle. It was nice, it was luxurious, but that's really where it ends. You got, you know, Lexus Toyota reliability, nice solid car, planted when you're, you know, driving for daily commutes, and it sounded great, looks great, but just lacked the performance. And that was the reason why I just kind of fell out with the car, so I ended up selling it. So those are my thoughts on the LC500. Would I go back to another LC platform if the LCF comes out? Probably not. I think Lexus is going to be behind the 8 ball again as far as the performance factor, and I think that car, or excuse me, I think that the brand itself, Lexus, is more luxury oriented. I don't think they're a performance brand. Toyota has some things, but they've kind of lost touch with their customers as far as performance is concerned. The LFA was the closest thing, the Mark IV Supra, but other than that, they don't really have anything else going for them, in my opinion. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the 2020 Mark V Supra and my thoughts regarding that platform. I bought the car sight unseen September 2019. I was in a dilemma with the LC500. I was totally searching for another performance vehicle. Again, looking at exotics. I was down the trodden path of looking at Lamborghini, Ferrari, Porsche, McLaren, all those platforms again, and just there's too many of them here where I live. I live in Arizona, and Scottsdale, those kind of cars are a dime a dozen. As much as I love those cars and I appreciate them for what they are, the older I get, the more I'm wanting reliability and less problematic cars. And I know that some people swear by, well, that comes with the territory buying a car like that. Well, I disagree. We're in 2020. There should be no excuse for having a $200,000 or $400,000 car break on you or have reliability issues at all. I mean, we're that far advanced now in technology. There should be no issues. Anyways, I bought the Mark V Supra. Inexpensive. I think I paid $67,000 on that car. Like I said, I paid $5,000 over MSRP, and then also there was some dealer markups on it on top of that. So I got dinged a little bit, but the car held its value for the 9 months or 10 months that I had the car. The car held its value. Very fast out of the box. I was really shocked, and now the numbers all over the internet are disclosing what's really going on with that car. It's making more power than that was advertised, so it's really making about 340 to the wheels, not to the crank. And with simple bolt-ons, that car can be 550, 600 horsepower with like $1,500 in mods or less. And that's about where I got mine up to. I did a downpipe, I did a Eventuri carbon fiber intake, I did a Apex I N1X Evolution exhaust, which didn't really add much power to it, but it just gave it a really nice tone. Kind of took away that high-end pitch sound and gave it more of a bassier tone, if you want to call it. So, but that car as well left me empty. It didn't handle very well, and I put HKS springs, lowering springs on the car. I lowered it. I had the car tuned on MHD. There was MHD, and I think there was a couple other software out there there was some other software out there for tuning, but I went with an MHD tune, 100 octane tune. I had a 95 and a 91 map, but I kept it on 100 octane. We can get it here out of the pump for like $8 a gallon or something like that. So, but I got really good gas mileage on that, on 100 octane, believe it or not, 330 miles on like 13 gallons or something like that, whatever that comes up to, I don't know, but it seemed pretty good for me. Anyway, car felt really fast off the line. Once you tuned the Supra, all hell broke loose. I mean, that thing was uncontrollable off the line. Trying to do launch control at the 2000 RPM factory setting, forget about it. Forget about it. You're done. I mean, you're spinning, you're going sideways with the traction control off, and it's just like the Mark IVs back in the day when they had the traction control issues. From a roll, really fast. Transmission, the ZF8HP transmission, pretty solid for the most part, but it's definitely no PDK or twin clutch, even a slower dual clutch transmission, not even close. Faster than the LC500 for sure. And then those both have direct shift transmissions, by the way. But the ZF8HP was pretty solid for the most part. My biggest gripe with the Supra, and a lot of people complain about the interior looking like a BMW and it's the size of a BMW. That didn't really bother me that much. I mean, I've owned a couple BMWs in the past, and yeah, there's some resemblance of the interiors, but most of the stuff that I enjoyed about the car was just the power, the torque, the exclusivity at the time. It was rare, so showing up to Cars and Coffee, and there was only a couple in town. It was kind of, you're the cool kid again. So anyway, but my biggest gripe about the Supra was the suspension. That was horrible, and obviously they were having some tuning issues going into bigger turbos than the factory. Even the pure, I think 700, and then they went to a stage 2, which is an 800. The tuning was just kind of weird. They couldn't get it dialed in. So you have these Mark V Supras making like 700, 800 horsepower. Great numbers, dyno queens. And some of them are putting numbers down at the track, but the majority of ones that were out there that were making those kind of numbers couldn't get traction. I mean, I talked to a performance shop down in Tucson. I won't mention their name, but they had issues. And so it really kind of steered me away from going with a bigger turbo and just stopping all modifications on the Supra build, because I was like, here we go, I'm gonna get stuck. It's newer technology, I understand. If I wait, I can probably get it dialed in and, you know, have a 9-second Supra, you know, daily driven. But again, going back to the suspension on this car, guys, the suspension is sloppy. Any of you that have driven cars, especially you guys that drift a lot, you would know this right off the bat. I mean, you get in this car and throw it into a turn, and you're gonna be like, what in the hell is going on here? The end links on the rear are, I think, the Achilles heel of that car. Well, a lot of parts that are connected to the assembly in the rear. The sway bar is just very weak and thin. It's sloppy. And even when I lowered it on the HKS springs, we really couldn't dial it back in because I took it to Network Alignment, a local shop here that does alignments, and they said, you know, you lowered it and you literally have to change out the front and rear suspension for us to actually dial this in to adjust the camber and the toe. And that was horrible because I like driving in the canyons. I mean, I like going a straight mile. Drag racing's cool, but I really like getting in the canyons. One of the other pitfalls about the 2020 Mark V Supra is, and I don't know how to explain it because I don't know where it was coming from, but the problem I was having is when I was tuned on the MHD software, I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but I was tuned on 100 octane fuel and I was getting some white smoke coming out of the exhaust. And it wasn't, I don't know if it was fuel or oil, I don't know what it was. People thought it was coolant maybe, could have been unburnt fuel coming out, you know, dumping to make the burbles, but I adjusted the burble setting and put it back to stock and it seemed to diminish the smoke a little bit, but it was still coming out. And I had, at that time, roughly 8,000 to 10,000 miles on the car, somewhere between there. And when I sold the vehicle, I had about 12,500 miles on the car, something like that. But that was an issue, and I said, oh man, you know, because hearing the BMW stories about these cars, you know, oil gaskets and all kinds of stuff crapping out at premature mileage for the cars, so I was really concerned about that. We put it up on a lift, and we saw a little. We did see oil on the oil pan and on the tray, and then even towards the back of the rear axle, on the cover right there, the sleeve, we saw a little bit of oil. It wasn't a whole lot, but it was a concern, and I was like, that's it, I'm out. So the rear, and then of course a little bit of smoke and seeing the oil underneath. And like I said, I didn't get in the car. We didn't, you know, go through and really check everything out, but that was enough for me to just call it quits. And then I was like, that's it, I'm looking for a different car. So hop back online, and here we are all over again, looking at Ferraris, McLaren, Porsche, Lamborghini, all the common exotics, which are not even exotics anymore, again, because everybody has one of those models or two of them or 10 of them. They're common now. And so I was like, man, what am I going to do? I'm just going to go build a damn race car. I want something unique and rare. I want something fast. I want something reliable. I want something modern. I want some of the amenities that come in these modern cars. But at the same time, I don't want the same car that everybody else has. I don't want to have to go modify and put $100,000 in it just to change it to be different than everybody else that's at Cars and Coffee or the drag strip or the, you know, going to the canyons or going to cruises. I just want my own uniqueness. And that's why us guys, us car enthusiasts, mod our cars. That's a big reason why we do it. It's because you go on to a dealer and you buy a car and you want to have some exclusivity. You want to have something that's a little bit separate from all these other cars that are showing up. So I've been looking at Radicals, you know, 600Rs, I think that's what they're called, the models. Definitely going to be purchasing one. But in the meantime, I sold my LC500, sold the Mark V Supra, and I ended up picking up a 2018 Acura NSX, Honda NSX. Got a really good deal on it, low mileage, Berlina black with white orchid interior with Alcantara trim. The car's phenomenal. It's bone stock. People are asking me already, are you going to mod the car? I'm like, I don't know at this point. I kind of like it stock, and I really like the OEM wheels. I've never really been a fan of OEM wheels on cars, but this one, man, they nailed it. I really, really like these OEM wheels. On that note, here's the thing about the Acura NSX that I've noticed, and I've had it for about a month now. This car, you know, I've driven it, I've probably put about 1,500 miles on it in about a month, which is a lot. So I ran some errands with it. I've done a couple car cruises, taken it up in the canyons, did launch control a couple times. And the car is, I finally realized what all the hype is about this car. And I've kept an eye on it. When they came out right around, I think 2016, 2017, I saw a couple. They're really rare. You don't see them that often. And I often wondered why, and I heard about the depreciation on these things. And I said, well, what's going on? Are they having issues? Or no, it's not the case. I think the issue that's at play here is that the car is everything that it was designed to be and better. I just think that the people that can afford that type of car are more concerned about status. And I think having that Honda or that Acura badge on that car detours a lot of people. It actually makes them frown away from buying that car. Even though they know logically it makes more sense to buy that car than a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or McLaren and possibly even a Porsche. So that's what I had to do. I had to just weigh everything out and say, what am I getting myself into, and did some research. And I have a friend who bought one a couple years ago. We both had GTRs, and he left his GTR bone stock, and I said, well, you're not going to mod your GTR? He's like, no, I'm thinking about selling it, blah, blah, blah. And a couple months later, he ended up picking up a 2017 Acura NSX, and he hasn't looked back. So when I bought mine, I messaged him and told him that I had just picked one up, and he was ecstatic. And he said, what do you think? And I said, man, I love it. And everything that you told me a few years ago, you're absolutely right. And I'm in for the long haul, man. So this car literally checks my box. The above average box for everything that this car can do, it's above average in every category. And I've never owned a car or driven a car that had a check mark above average on everything in all categories. This one does it. Honda, you guys killed it on this car. And I don't know why they're not selling like they should be, because what you get for this car is unprecedented. It's just amazing. I cannot begin to explain it. It's mind-blowing how fast it is off the line with these electric motors that are in there. It's got 3 electric motors. I'm sure you guys know the history on the NSX, and if you don't, I'll give you a little information on it. It is a 3.5 liter V6 twin turbo mid-engine. It has a 9-speed dual clutch transmission. It's all-wheel drive, and it has 3 electric motors in it, 2 up front and 1 in the rear. So you're getting full torque at 0 RPM off the line in first gear. It's insane. It's like launching a Tesla and then having that twin turbo power come in right behind you and just bam. It's violent. And my friend was telling me that, he goes, well, wait till you do the downpipes, you do the tune on it. You're gonna be blown away. Nothing will be able to touch you. And I've seen some races on YouTube. I've seen these cars where they've I think on drag times, I think Brooks has raced 720 against the NSX, and what else did they race? Lamborghini Huracan. I don't want to get into somebody else's channel or whatever, but I saw those races, and I think some of those, I'm a little biased on some of those races because I think the tracks were probably prepped for certain tires. I'm sure that he probably ran certain tires or a certain fuel type, even though he claims he wasn't tuned and he was stock on some of those races. I beg to differ on some of that. I've been racing for a while, and I just know. So, but I'm here to tell you guys that this NSX is phenomenal. I just posted a video up, short promotional video with this NSX. It's under my new NSX. Take a look at it. Really cool footage. But that's my new car, and like I said, it sucks that I sold the LC and I sold the Supra, and I didn't get a chance to give you guys the race between the two. But hopefully this answers a lot of you guys' questions and gives you guys some details about the differences between the two cars and what I liked and what I didn't like about those. And look for future content on the NSX. I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff with that. Like I said, I don't know if I'm going to mod the car. I might do downpipes and a tune and just call it quits, but that's all that car needs. I mean, it's fast as it is right now, but I think I'm also going to be picking up a Radical. So look for that in the near future too. So that will be going into the garage as well. So look for that. Radical 600R, I think it is. And they're all built to order, special built to order. So I've been talking with Radical over in California, their headquarters over there, and talking with them about build out on one. So be sure to look for that. And be sure to subscribe to this channel, Electric Eye Media. Hit the bell so you can keep tabs on when I'm posting. I don't have a whole lot of time to do these videos, but I will try and at least get one up a week. Maybe we can start shooting for every Friday. I might be able to do that. But stay tuned, and you guys be safe out there. I'll talk to you soon.